the Florida Writer Podcast, a discussion about writing and other things.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Florida Writer Podcast with your host, Alison Nissen. And today I am lucky enough to be with Buck Martinez. Buck, could you give us a 60-second elevator pitch about who you are and what you write?
Hey, Allison. Well, thank you. It's a real honor to be here. And thanks for giving me the opportunity. So basically what I write is just books on character and leadership. I'm just a regular guy. I wasn't really even very good in English. But after working in the energy industry for many years and then having the opportunity to have coached numerous kids, we started a program about 10 years ago, my daughter and I, called Student Aces, and working with student athletes. And we've had over 50,000 kids in the program. And basically, it gave me the opportunity to really see some of the issues that these young men and women are going through, and then being able to figure out ways to try to help them and their journey on this whole thing called life, talking about those things called character, things that, that make you the individual that you are, and then the leadership aspects of it. So what I write is just basically lessons for young men and women with a lot of examples to try to help them in their path to be, young men and women that'll be productive to society and be successful in their career path.
Well, that's really exciting. So you've talked to, you said like 50,000 students?
Yeah, probably more than that now. I mean, we started this journey, my daughter and I, were like 30 kids. And now fast forward, we've been all over South Florida, both at the university level and at the and at the high school level. And just working with just a plethora of, young men and women involved in different sports, everything from volleyball, lacrosse, football, baseball, softball, whatever. So it's given us a real opportunity to truly, understand a lot of the issues that these young men and women are dealing with. And then my wife and I actually lived the blind side. So we actually had a few kids from the inner city, underprivileged kids that were going through a really tough time, actually move in with us and live with us for a few years. So it's given us, that opportunity also to see, what is really shaping the lives of these young men and women today.
And go ahead, tell me, what is shaping the lives of these young women today, young men and women today?
Yeah. Well, I wish there was one thing, but if you really look at the last probably 6-7 years of everything these kids are going through, whether it's a COVID factor, whether it's a social media aspect, whether it's the advent of things that have changed sports, whether it's what we call the NIL factor, the transfer portal. It's a culture that has really pushed the me concept into these kids, as opposed to the old days where you had more of a team concept. You valued things like sportsmanship, team chemistry, those kind of things. And now it seems like we've migrated to a culture of what can I get out of it, and go get whatever you're due. And that's why you see a lot of these young men and women transferring so many times, whether it's at the high school level or at the collegiate level, always looking for something, even though the answer might be right in front of them. So they transfer schools multiple times. They leave behind kind of the culture that they've been groomed in, whether it's with their friends or peers or teammates, their teachers, and they're always looking for that path that says, hey, if I come over here, there might be something better for me. And it's different. It's a different culture, and it's, trying to teach them a little bit about, hey, the one thing that you have to do is you got to develop the person that you are, the character that you are. And we teach principles such as you got to be able to command respect. You got to be able to earn trust. You got to be able to bring a winning attitude every day, because life happens, and it happens hard, and it happens fast. But the one thing you can control, and the only thing you can control, is your attitude. So when things happen to you, we talk about life happens 10% what happens, and 90% how you respond to it. And if we can help these young men and women build that character, build that tenacity, build that perseverance, they'll be able to deal with a lot of this adversity they're going through. And then we talk about sacrifice and discipline, and what is it that is going to allow you to be successful? What are you willing to sacrifice to be able to get to that, whatever it is, pinnacle that you're working towards? And then ultimately it's work ethic. And work ethic is that one thing that we tell them cannot be compromised. Whatever success you're aspiring to, that success, you got to work hard and you got to be able to outwork everyone else. Because the one denominator everyone's looking for is, I want individuals that are willing to work hard and are responsible and dependable. So if you can do that, you've got, one leg up. And then we combine that with the whole concept of leadership, which is a little different, because what we tell the young men and women is, look, you can be a person with tremendous character, and that's great, but that doesn't guarantee you leadership. You can be a leader, but that doesn't guarantee that you're a good person either. So if you can combine the two, now we're talking. So leadership, we talk about purpose, having a purpose that's a lot bigger than yourself, having a passion to go get it. So that, what is it that gets you up every morning? What's inside your belly every morning that makes you want to go and do what you do? And then what's the conviction? Because what we do know is life puts a lot of hurdles in front of you. You got to either go around them or you got to go over them. But the ability to overcome adversity, the ability to have that strong desire to persevere and go get that purpose that you're pushing for. And then what's, wisdom, judgment, and courage. So we talk to these young men and women about the transfer of going from having knowledge to being able to have wisdom. And a lot of that requires failure. And we tell our kids, go out and fail miserably many times, because that's what's going to allow you to continue to build your character. That's what's going to allow you to persevere when people are not persevering. And so work hard, stay strong to your principles, have a strong purpose, have the passion to go get it, and then have the conviction to oversee it. So those are kind of things that are easy to say, but tough to do. And when you're dealing with 15, 16, 17-year-old kids, and then transferring that to 22-year-olds ready to go into the real world, we want to make sure it's not a cliche and it's not just words. So we push them hard. We give them a lot of case studies. We get involved in their lives. We show up at some of their events. And that is that passion that fuels me to be able to write, to try to help as many kids as I can.
So, Buck, how do you actually take all of these lessons and distill them into a book?
Well, it's like eating the elephant, right? You gotta take small digestible chunks. So every book has kind of a different theme, but yet it's based on some of those principles, right? Because I don't think you can put all those things into one book. So for example, I have one book, like the first book was called Building Blocks of Leadership. And the reality was I'd never written anything, had no clue of how to write anything. But I remember one morning saying, we're writing all these curriculums for all these classes. Maybe we should put in a book and, help get it out to as many kids as we can. So that was kind of some of those core values that we put into our program. So the first book dealt with work ethic. It dealt with winning attitude. It dealt with commanding respect and earning trust. And part of that was fueled by, you see a lot of people talking about, well, they don't respect me, or, I don't know what else to do, but, I play and nobody respects me. And the whole concept was nobody needs to respect you. You got to command it. So it's what are the actions that you're living every day, and what are you doing every day that's going to command respect? Because just telling people you need to be respected ain't going to happen. And the same with trust. We talk about trust as, okay, it's 24/7, it's 365, and it takes a lifetime to earn trust, but a nanosecond to lose it. So what are you doing every day to be able to be consistent, to ensure that you have that trust? So the books are, broken into little chunks, and then the last two books are really more about, okay, everybody's looking for those, what are those steps? If I do X, Y, Z, if I do my 7 steps, my 6 steps, whatever. So I actually played with the concept so it's a book called 7 Steps to Success. And a good friend of mine at that time was the baseball coach at LSU. So he was the winningest collegiate baseball coach. So we said, we ran some of these principles by him, and he's like, yeah, that's what we preach every day here. And, and it has bred success. So we try to be formulaic about it. and dealt with things like, because a lot of kids are told you got to be honest with yourself and this and that, but do they really know what that means? So one chapter is, you have to believe in yourself, which sounds great, but then you got to be honest with yourself. So for example, I believe I can be the best at this event, whatever that may be. But if I haven't trained hard and I haven't put in the extra time and I haven't prepared and I haven't had the discipline to do the things that I need to do, then I have to be honest with myself. I'm not gonna achieve success. And the same applies to things we talk about the classroom. You can tell yourself all day long you're gonna be a great student, but if you're not putting in the time or the effort, you can blame the teachers, you can blame society, you can blame anybody you want, but you got to own it. So every book has kind of a perspective based on the constant or the new learnings that I have had, in essence, because people say, oh, you're teaching these kids, but the reality is they teach me more than I could ever possibly teach them, because you have so many interactions that and sometimes you don't realize all the things that a lot of these young men and women are dealing with. To try to capture that into learnings and teachings that can help others is really the challenge. And it's dereliction of duty if I don't, because I've got, if I have the opportunity, boy, it's and it's hard because it takes time to write these things, but it's owed to the majority of the kids.
You said you work with your daughter. Does she help you write the books too?
Well, she gives me a lot of the what I would say inspiration. She gives me a lot of the willpower, and she gives me a lot of what I call the curriculum, right? In the sense that since we do a lot of stuff together, we work with a lot of kids together. We put in, we hold workshops for young men and women and coaches and stuff. So a lot of what comes out of this, she'll say, "Hey, Dad, what about this? What about that? Maybe this is a message we need to start getting out there." So yeah, I mean, I would say, we're kind of joined at the hip. So she's got a lot of valuable lessons that allow me to go forward with it.
When we think about, writing a book, it takes the discipline, of course, to get it done. How did you plan your day around the process of doing what you normally do and also producing a book?
I wish I could have told you I have this incredible discipline that allows me to schedule it, but the reality was it's like, you beg and borrow wherever you can find time, and then you do it. And the frustration is, you always hear people say, well, you got to be in the right mood, you got to be in the right frame of mind. And you're like, yeah, right, just sit down and do what you got to do, just write it. And the reality is it's hard. It's hard because, you spend a lot of time working with, whether it's student athletes, or in my case, I work with companies sometimes and their executive teams on, leadership and character and all that. And then to find the time and the discipline to sit down. So you end up sacrificing. Some people think it's compromising. I don't, I think when you're passionate about something, to me, it's not a big sacrifice, but I don't make it a habit. I don't watch TV. So I try to get snippets here and there of what's going on in the world, but my passion is I love to read. I love to create. So when I have an opportunity to write curriculum for new classes or new workshops, whatever, trying to take those lessons and then apply them to, put them on the side and say, this was going to work for a book. So like one of the things I was fascinated with was, how do you bridge the generational issue of leadership, right? Because to me, leadership is leadership, and every generation can maybe deploy it in their own way or manner or their own culture, but the reality is leadership is leadership. So we have a guy that I was friends with. He's an older fella. He's 75 years old. He's won probably 5 Super Bowls, I think, as an assistant coach in the NFL. And he was referred to by Bill Belichick, the winningest Super Bowl coach, as probably the coach that had the most character that he's ever worked with. So began to pick his brain a little bit about what are some of those constant principles, attributes that he's been able to deal with, that has been successful for multiple generations. And then we had a young man that I've known for quite some time that actually went and played football at the University of Alabama. So he was 22 years old at the time. So now I have a 75-year-old, 22-year-old, and you ask him the same questions. What are those things that allow you to be disciplined? What are those things that build character? What are those things that basically promote leadership? What are those things that you saw in your journey?
I want to be mindful of your time too. So if you have to run, of course, just let me know.
No, we're just about done anyway. So I can just finish it up. I don't have anything now until 12:45, but I should take a shower first.
Yeah, I mean, you have other things I'm sure you've got to do, right? We all
Fortunately, I don't have much to do with my hair. So it's just a little makeup.
No worries. Come on.
Welcome back, Buck. We had a little bit of technical problems, and we are so glad you're back.
Thank you, Alison. I apologize. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but I'll leave that up to the world of the cyberspace.
Well, that's right. So I think your journey sounds fascinating. I am really excited to learn more about you. And how can others learn more about you?
Well, it's you can believe it or not, my email is buck buckm27@gmail.com. I have my website is Ace Leadership. So if you www.aceleadership, and Jamie actually set most of that up, right, Jamie? So if somebody really wants to get a hold of me, I actually give people my cell phone number. So it's 561-719-1777. And the reason I do that against everybody's telling me no is that, there are people that generally, if I can be of help to them and generally have an interest in character and leadership, I'd love to talk to them.
Well, let me tell you, so many people need assistance with character and leadership because it's not something that's usually taught in school.
No, and it's unfortunately, you're at the mercy of those that are influential in your life. A lot of the kids that we deal with, believe it or not, come from broken families, and they're not getting any of this foundational stuff at the house. So sometimes you're at the mercy of coaches, which could be good or bad because you don't really know, their motives. You're at the mercy of teachers that do the best they can, but they only have you for a short spell. So who are the people that are truly going to be influential in these young men and women's lives? And all we can do is hope that they are the right people, the right influencers for them, but there's no guarantee. So the more we can try to help them in their journey, the more, I feel that it's something that might be able to help them on their road.
Well, Buck, that you are doing the world a great service, but it's time to switch to our rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Oh, God. Go for it.
Beaches or mountains?
Beaches or mountains?
That's correct. Beaches or mountains?
Beaches are about, I'll take mountains.
All right.
Only because they're meant to be climbed.
That's right. That's right. Do you have a favorite flower?
Oh, God. What's my favorite flower? I live in a world of metaphors, so roses, because they're a beautiful flower, but yet, if not cautious, they're also will get you with the thorns, which is a lot of what we deal with in our leadership journey.
I love it. Last question. What is one vacation that you've had that everyone should experience?
My wife and I went to St. Martin, and there was no internet at the time. There was no chain restaurants. It was just fantastic walks on the beach. Every place that you go for a meal is like the locals, the natives hang out. no air conditioning. So you're basically, just getting to enjoy the natives, having conversations with the people from the island, and, no scripted menus and no customized food. It's basically just, mingling and just getting back to the roots of it all.
Well, that sounds like something that should be on my bucket list.
There you go.
Buck Martinez, thank you so much for stopping by.
Alison, thank you. Pleasure.
You have been listening to another edition of the Florida Writer Podcast with your host, Alison Nissen. Alison out. Woo! We're all done. J.L. Buck Martinez is the president of ACE Leadership Group, a company dedicated to inspiring and developing men and women to achieve their highest potential. Through ACE Leadership Group, Buck focuses on developing the character, honor, and integrity of his clients. Buck has authored 7 books, including Inspiring Champions, Building Blocks of Leadership for Young Adults, The Captain's Leadership Playbook, Straight Talk, Man Up, Leading a Life of Honor, 7 Steps for Success, and Your Winning Formula, Discovering the Champion Within You. Buck served as an adjunct professor at Keiser University and is a frequent speaker at conferences, schools, and leadership forums. He and his wife, Sylvia, their 3 children and 4 grandchildren, live in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. For more information about Buck Martinez, visit aceleadershipgroup.com. For more information about the Florida Writers Association, visit us at floridawriters.org. Until next time.